Exposed. Coppa's heartwarming attempt to frame an innocent black man, who miraculously became mayor. In the quiet town of Maple Grove, the sun peeked over the charming houses, revealing a picturesque morning. Children rode their bikes, laughter floating through the air as neighbors exchanged warm hellos. But for Marcus Thompson, the day would unravel like a tightly coiled spring as whispers began to swell into a storm of accusations. A dedicated mechanic and father of two, Marcus had always been the bedrock of his community. Known for his kindness and his unwavering support of veterans, he believed deeply in the power of togetherness. But that belief would soon be put to the test. The sound of his tools clattering to the garage floor mingled with static silence. Confusion etched across his face as the call came in: he had been arrested, wrongly accused of a crime he didn't commit. His heart raced, a tightness in his chest that refused to dissipate. Friends, his community, the very people he pledged to uplift, now they were doubting him. As the days passed, the newspaper headlines screamed his name, painting a picture far removed from the Marcus he knew he was. A dark cloud loomed over his family as he struggled to navigate this nightmare that felt so foreign in the town he loved. Town meetings filled with anger and confusion. The lines between truth and perception blurred painfully. Voices of support mixed with skeptical murmurs, each one slicing deeper into Marcus's heart. He knew he had to rise, to advocate for his innocence. But how could a humble mechanic make waves against a narrative built on prejudice? Yet, the fire inside him burned bright, igniting his determination. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just then, the room fell silent as a war veteran emerged from the crowd. His voice held weight, dripping with sincerity as he spoke about Marcus, their shared history, sacrifices, and the values of honor and integrity. Each word resonated with Marcus, stirring something deep within him. Hope flickered in the air, but doubt still clung viciously at the edges as truth began to unfurl, exposing the officers' hidden motivations and the appalling realities of their small town. Marcus knew this battle was about more than his own innocence. It was about justice, about their enduring community of neighbors rising together or falling apart in despair. The palpable tension wrapped around the room, an all-consuming force as everyone braced for what lay ahead. Marcus stood firm, steeling himself for the fight to come. The pivotal moments loomed large: the whispers, the support, the division, and the clock was ticking. Would the town find a way to unify beyond bias and fear? All eyes were on him now, that humble mechanic with a heart big enough to challenge an unjust system. What would happen next? For Marcus, and for all of Maple Grove, the future hung precariously in the balance, waiting for a voice to shout truth against injustice and ignite a transformation that could change everything. The meeting room buzzed with a mix of tension and expectancy. Marcus stood at the front, his palms sweating but his resolve unwavering. It was no longer just about him. The entire community was affected by this fight. As he looked around the room, he saw familiar faces. Some wore expressions of concern, while others revealed skepticism clouded their features. He could almost hear the wheels turning in their heads. Was this really the man they thought they knew? Narratives can be powerful, Marcus began, his voice steady as he faced the audience. But they can also be dangerous. Gripping the edge of the podium, he took a deep breath. The warmth of the veteraness words still lingered in his heart. Some stories don't just reflect the truth, they twist it. I'm here today not just to prove my innocence but to stand against a system that seems broken. We have to fight for what is right, together. The murmurs grew louder, uncertain. Marcus could feel the weight of their gaze, a mix of disbelief and hope intermingled. He stepped closer to the edge, his raw emotions spilling out. I have been a part of this community my whole life. I've built not just cars, but relationships. I want you all to believe that a man is worth isn't defined by the color of his skin or by deceitful badges. A woman in the back straightened up, her voice cutting through. But what if you're guilty, Marcus? We have to think of our children living in this town. It was a punch to his gut. Doubt echoed in her question, and he could see others nodding in agreement. The fear was palpable, radiating through the room. This was bigger than him. This was about safety, security, and the very fabric of their lives. I can't deny that fear, he replied, his heart pounding in rhythm with the pounding of 1,000 hearts around him. But I'm asking you to stand by me, to choose to trust your neighbor, the same neighbor who has always been there for you. The veteran stood up again, his eyes fierce. I've fought wars for this country, for justice, and I can tell you this man's integrity has never faltered. Marcus felt a spark ignite within those words, and he turned to face the crowd again. If we want change, we have to be willing to challenge what we think we know. We can't let fear dictate our actions. Slowly, hands began to rise in support, voices being lifted for the first time. A gradual shift was occurring. There was a long way to go, but they were beginning to listen. The old fractures in their community showed signs of healing. However fragile, as he stepped down from the podium, encouragement washed over him. Maybe they could unite after all. But just as the seeds of hope were being sown, a local journalist burst through the doors of the meeting, breathless and frantically waving a piece of paper. Everyone, you need to see this. There's been a major development in the case. The atmosphere shifted instantly. Tension crept back in, sharp as knives, and Marcus felt his heart rate quicken. What was this new information? Would it help lift the heavy burden off his shoulders, or plunge him deeper into despair? The crowd turned, eyes glued to the newcomer, demanding answers. Marcus's gut tightened. Whatever was coming could change everything he had just built. As he locked eyes with the journalist, the room felt like it was holding its breath. A moment of truth was about to unfold. The journalist, a wiry figure with unkempt hair and wide eyes, stepped forward, frantically shuffling the papers in his hands. This changes everything, he gasped, trying to catch his breath. The room, stunned into silence, leaned in closer, as if every person was 2 inches taller, straining to hear the words that could redefine everything they thought they knew. What is it? Marcus demanded, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. The crowd held their collective breath, anticipating the blow or the blessing. Evidence. The journalist almost choked out, his voice trembling with excitement. New evidence has come to light. It's evidence that could exonerate you, Marcus. Murmurs erupted, ricocheting off the walls. Some faces shifted from fear to cautious hope, while others wore disbelief etched across their features, actively wrestling with an emotional tide that was surging in all directions. Marcus's heart raced, hope sparking anew in his chest like a flame catching fire. Just show us. A voice called from the back. What is it? The journalist raised a shaking hand, desperate for calm. It's a video, a surveillance clip that shows part of the incident. It seems the police fabricated some aspects of the story. They intentionally left out critical moments. A rush of murmurs rippled through the room, growing louder, bolder. Marcus felt the heat of anticipation blossom within him. What does it show? The journalist paused, glancing around the room, clearly overwhelmed. It shows a white officer planting evidence. And witnesses are coming forward, saying they were threatened to stay silent. Gasps echoed like gunshots through the community, faces shifting as disbelief and outrage boiled in tandem. Marcus could hardly believe it, but a magnetic pull toward possibility kept him grounded. So, this isn't just about me anymore. He spoke slowly, the weight of his realization settling over the crowd. It's about everyone. Everyone who has faced oppression. An older man in the front shook his head in incredulity. We can't let them get away with this. Yes, right, another voice chimed in, stronger this time. We need to rally together. Show them that we stand for this. The tide continued to turn, people rising in unity and indignation. Old wounds suddenly raw again but also ripe for healing. There was power in the air, and for the first time, fear was being trampled by righteous anger. Marcus stepped forward, his voice firm yet soft. This moment isn't just about clearing my name. It's about lifting the veil on a system that has failed too many. We are the community. We have the power to change this. As hands shot into the air, each grasping for a piece of this burgeoning momentum, the journalist's phone buzzed harshly in the stillness. He lowered it, realization clouding his features as he scanned the screen. I need to go, I have to report this right now. Before he could leave, he turned to Marcus. You'll need this. He handed over a USB drive. I've copied the video onto this. Don't lose it. It could change everything. Marcus took it, feeling its weight, a tangible token of hope and responsibility. Thank you, he breathed, knowing it was more than that. It was a chance to fight back. That as the journalist rushed away, a deep silence fell again. The crowd, charged with energy, found their voices rising together, stronger than before. Just when they thought the story was winding down, a heavy sense of uncertainty crept back in. Could the fabric of their lives really be unraveled and rewoven? All right then, Marcus shouted to rally them back. Let us make our voices heard. Let us stand together. But as he finished, a distant siren wailed outside, sending a shiver through the room. What would that sound mean now? Would they be ready to face that truth too? With hearts pounding, they turned toward the exit, hope battling against dread. Marcus realized that as exhilarating as this moment was, the hardest part was yet to come. Would they be united enough to stand against what was still to come? The siren's wail sliced through the air, a reminder that the battle was far from won. Marcus shifted his weight, glancing at the crowd that buzzed with uncertainty. He could feel their energy falter for the first time as apprehension painted their expressions. Stay calm, he urged, trying to keep a grasp on the momentum they had built. This is our moment. We can face anything together. But even he felt the thin thread of confidence wavering under the pressure of what might come next. The darkness outside seemed to crawl closer, an unseen threat lurking just beyond their reach. One woman stepped forward, her voice shaking yet resolute. What if they come for us? What if we're not safe in numbers? Her eyes darted to the windows, fear embedding itself in her tone. The crowd murmured softly, the weight of her words sinking in. Their voices carried more than just doubt. They were voices of fathers, mothers, brothers, and sisters worried about what was at stake. Every fight has its risks, but we have no choice but to stand and fight back, Marcus replied, trying to harness the resolve that had ignited moments earlier. He held up the USB drive, its edges glinting under the harsh fluorescent lights, a symbol of their fight. This is proof. They can't silence the truth anymore. But another voice chimed in, a young man, voice cracking. What if it's not enough? What if they twist it around? Anguish flooded the room like a wave. Doubts loomed as heavy as any burden they had carried before. Marcus took a deep breath, feeling the collective angst wash over him. It has to be, for all of us. This isn't just about my innocence, it's about unveiling the truth that has kept us shackled. We can't let fear swallow us whole. We have to speak out. The mood began to shift again, some faces lifting towards him, eyes glimmering with defiance. I believe in us, he continued. They want to make us afraid, to divide us with intimidation. But we are stronger together, and we will not back down. A few heads nodded, a trickle of belief returning. The coalescence of fears and hopes danced in the air, testing the very fabric of their resolve. Let us take this video to the media, to those who can amplify our voices. We won't let this truth die with just us. A woman in the back shouted. Then let us go. We can't wait here. The room erupted in shouts of encouragement, the fear retreating slightly, replaced with the fire of purpose. Let us move, Marcus called, a sense of leadership throbbing in him as they all pushed toward the exit. An officer stepped inside the building, his presence stark and unsettling. Hold it right there, he commanded, hand resting on his holster, eyes scanning the crowd with an intensity designed to intimidate. Marcus felt a knot tighten in his stomach, old instincts screaming to flee. But he couldn't. Not now. We're just having a community meeting, he said, trying to keep calm while his heart raced. The officer smirked, stepping closer. A meeting? He echoed, voice laced with skepticism. What's all this ruckus about? In that moment, as tensions ricocheted like bullets in the air, every member of the crowd turned their gaze back to Marcus, seeking a sign of direction. The USB drive felt heavier in his pocket, a reminder of the truth and the power they might unleash. Time to find out what they really want. He whispered to himself, steeling himself against the officer's penetrating glare. Would they stand together against this new fear? Would truth emerge? Or would they be silenced yet again? With a deep breath, Marcus prepared for the confrontation ahead. Marcus locked eyes with the officer, trying to project confidence even as his stomach churned. The weight of the USB drive felt almost like a lead ball, a reminder of the stakes involved. Time seemed to stretch as the officer scanned the room, his expression a mix of amusement and menace. Why would this gathering require a show of force? The officer sneered, glancing over the audience. The crowd bristled, whispers bubbling like boiling water just beneath the surface. Marcus could feel their fear, a palpable thing, threatening to choke them all. Abruptly, a voice crackled from the back. We're tired of being silenced. An older man stepped forward, his brow lined with years of worry and struggle. It's time we spoke the truth. The crowd reacted, murmurs of agreement hitting the air like drumbeats, filling the tension-laden atmosphere. With a flick of his wrist, the officer reached for his radio. I need backup, he said, his tone serious. The crowd gasped, sensing the escalation. Marcus took a step toward the officer, heart slamming in his chest. Wait, we're not doing anything wrong, he shouted desperately. This isn't about defiance. It's about making our voices heard. His words hung in the air, a desperate plea for understanding. The officer narrowed his eyes, but the crowd remained restless, energy swirling like a storm about to break. What's south on that flash drive? He asked, a hint of curiosity mixed with suspicion. It's evidence, Marcus replied, a fire igniting within him. Proof of corruption, of lies that have held us back. We won't let fear of the badge keep us silent. There was a moment of hesitation, the officer caught off guard by the fervor in Marcus's voice. For a fleeting second, doubt flickered in his eyes. But then, determination returned, and his grip tightened around his radio as if it were a lifeline. Suddenly, the crowd surged forward, a collective pulse that pushed against the officer's authoritarian barrier. Don't let him intimidate you, Marcus shouted, feeling his own hesitation dissolve in the heat of the moment. We're here for the truth. We demand to be heard. The officer looked around, and for the first time, Marcus noticed a flicker of unease ripple across his face. He wasn't just facing Marcus. He was facing a tide of unity, resolve, and bravery that had built up behind those words. Enough, the officer barked, voice bouncing off the walls. Back away. You don't know what you're playing with. But it was too late for placation. The crowd surged again, transforming fear into something stronger, courage. Marcus caught the eye of the woman who had first voiced doubt. She nodded, an unspoken agreement passing between them, and he felt a fire ignite in his chest. Let us take the power back, he shouted, spurred by the support building around him. The momentum surged as more voices joined him, a chorus of encouragement that echoed throughout the space. Take the power, they chanted, unity racing through the air. The officer, trapped in a swell of determination and passion, hesitated. Just as he began to raise his weapon, the overhead lights flickered, casting ominous shadows. The building trembled, as if aware of the monumental clash of hope and authority about to unfold. An unexpected voice came from the front, an elderly woman, her voice strong and unwavering. They can't take our truth. A wave of strength rolled through the crowd, and suddenly, they advanced, surrounding the officer. With the USB drive sizzling in Marcus's pocket, it felt like they were standing at the edge of something infinite, something unreal that could change everything. As the crowd closed in, an unexpected crackle spread through the loudspeaker overhead, silencing every voice. Attention, all units, what would happen next? Would they reclaim their power, or face even deeper consequences? With time running out, Marcus braced himself for the unknown. The sudden hiss of static from the loudspeaker hung in the air, thickening the tension like fog rolling in at twilight. Marcus's heart raced as the crowd's chanting dwindled to anxious murmurs. Everyone's faces were a mix of anticipation and fear. This was the moment that could shatter their fragile unity or ignite it into flames. Attention! All units. The loudspeaker crackled again, drowning out the chaos as that voice loomed over them all. The officer tightened his grip on the radio. "Everyone stay where you are," he barked, but the words fell flat against the clamor. A woman in the front, eyes fierce, shouted, "No more! We refuse to hide." With each word, Marcus felt a surge of strength. That defiance echoed in every corner of the room, igniting a fire within him. Who was he, to let fear dictate their destiny? The USB drive in his pocket seemed to pulse with energy, holding all the hope and truth they desperately craved. "Take a step back," the officer demanded, but the shouts only grew louder, rallying everyone together. This was not just Marcus's fight. It was theirs. He stepped forward, pushing through the weight of uncertainty lurking around him. "We aren't backing down," he declared. "We have the power to expose the lies. They can't keep us in chains." The collective courage surged again as more people rallied around him, shouting in unison. With every heartbeat, it seemed as if the officer shrank, overwhelmed by the tide of voices ready to drown out his authority. But doubt flickered across his face, a sign of weariness from the unceasing expectations of his uniform. Just as that wave of strength surged, a different kind of urgency arrived, a low rumble that shook the very ground beneath them. Outside, sirens blared, piercing the charged atmosphere with their shrill wails. Panic began to creep back in. People glanced at windows, unsure of what was coming. "Backup is on the way," the officer muttered under his breath, a slight tremor betraying his confidence. But Marcus saw it. A momentary crack in that armor, a preparation for what could follow. In that split second, a thought struck Marcus. What if all this while the officers had a chokehold on their strength? What if the USB didn't just contain evidence but was a key to unlock an unyielding spirit? "Let them come," he shouted above the noise. "If their reinforcements think they can silence us, they are mistaken. This city belongs to us. It is our truth." The energy shifted, the resolve translating into faces brightening with anticipation. It was as if hope ignited from every spoken word, unleashing a wave of defiance against the systems that had long stifled them. And just then, as they pressed closer to the officer, a figure emerged at the entrance, his stature shadowy against the blinding light outside. With bated breath, they all turned to face the unusual silhouette stepping inside. Was it friend or foe? Would this new arrival change the course of their confrontation, or deepen the divide? Marcus's heart pounded as he waited, dread and hope intertwining. Who would emerge from the light to stand against them? Whatever happened next would be vital. The stakes were higher than ever. And in that heartbeat, he realized it was his chance, and he wouldn't let it slip away. The figure stepped into the room, and the crowd collectively leaned forward, breaths suspended like a taut string about to snap. It was hard to see, the air thick with tension and uncertainty. But what struck Marcus the most was the demeanor of the newcomer. They didn't slink in hesitantly like a tattletale. No, this figure moved with purpose, a quiet confidence that made the restless crowd quiet down, even if just for a heartbeat. As the light poured in from outside, casting long shadows across the floor, Marcus squinted to make out the features of the person. It was a woman, tall and strong, dressed in a weather-beaten leather jacket that seemed to echo battle scars of her own, a warrior whose spirit had survived many wars. Her hair, wild and free, caught the rays of the fading light like a halo, brightening the intense atmosphere. "Listen," her voice rang clear and steady, cutting through the uncertainty in the room. "I'm not here to take sides. I'm here to remind you why you're fighting." The murmurs resumed, some people exchanging glances, while others hung onto her words like lifebuoys in a storm. Marcus could see it then. She carried not only herself but the weight of their struggle. He recognized her now, Maya, a local community organizer who had been in and out of the fight for years. "Speak, Maya," someone in the crowd shouted. "I know many of you have lost hope," she said, her voice steady, strong. "But your unity today? That's the first step in reclaiming our power. Look at this officer, standing here trembling in the face of our truth. We cannot allow fear to divide us. We have the light to expose them. It's time we ignite it." Marcus felt the energy shift once more, responsibility settling on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. As the crowd rallied behind Maya, he approached her, unable to resist the urge to add his voice to the growing chorus. "We have evidence," he said with urgency, pulling the USB drive from his pocket. "They've been lying to us, and we can show everyone the truth." The anxiety in the room morphing into something electrifying. The tension seemed to bubble over, threatening to explode. Maya nodded, her eyes gleaming with pride and purpose. "Then let us make sure everyone knows it. Let us show them what it means to stand united, and let the world see we are not afraid." The officer, still rooted in place, seemed smaller now as the heat of defiance surged. Marcus could feel the close bond forming among the crowd, a sense of kinship swelling within as everyone suddenly felt connected. This wasn't just about a single fight. It was a movement, a moment destined to ripple through wider landscapes beyond those walls. Then, almost as if the universe responded, the door burst open again, and dozens of figures spilled into the space. A mix of news reporters, concerned citizens, and even family members rushed in, eyes wide with curiosity and determination. "Are you standing against oppression or running from it?" shouted an elderly man, a known civil rights advocate stepping forward. "Because I assure you, we will not remain silent anymore." The crowd erupted, voices clashing in a storm of support and solidarity. But beneath it all, a deeper question gnawed at Marcus's heart. What if they succeeded? What lay ahead? Did they truly understand the power they held? Or would this movement be crushed by forces they couldn't even see looming in the shadows? With newfound momentum, he glanced at Maya. Their eyes met, a silent agreement flaring a promise to protect what they had ignited. Yet, as the shouting grew and the environment became electric, a chill ran down Marcus's spine. He was acutely aware that with every ounce of hope grew the potential for devastation. Was this their moment to shine, or would the fear they faced soon swallow them whole? As the sirens closed in outside, he took a breath, steeling himself. This was just the beginning of their fight. What if they stepped outside and the city suddenly turned against them? Would they still stand strong? Would their courage last? With hearts pounding and voices raised, they faced an uncertain future, for real change always demands sacrifice. Would they be ready to pay the price? Maya took a step forward, raising her arms to calm the crowd. The energy crackled in the air, tension mingling with anticipation. "We need a plan," she shouted over the roar. "We can't just let this moment slip away into chaos." A few heads nodded, filtered light illuminating their resolve. Marcus felt the charge intensify. They had something to fight for now. It wasn't just about evidence or truth, it was about justice and their community's future. Yet, a nagging fear refused to let go. What if they acted too hastily? Suddenly, a solitary voice pierced the air. "What if they're watching us?" A young woman with bright eyes stood at the back, her brow furrowed in worry. "What if the police are just waiting for us to make a wrong move?" A ripple of uncertainty coursed through the crowd, a tangible tremor spotted by the sharp-eyed. Conversations quieted momentarily, the faces of the hopeful flickering with fear. Maya stepped toward the woman, her confidence still shining through the dimming atmosphere. "They will watch us, yes, but we have grown stronger together. We can't let fear dictate our next steps." Marcus caught a glimpse of the officer's flinch at Maya's words. It was as if he was beginning to realize the power dynamic shifting around him. He exchanged a glance with Maya, and she smiled in root determination, emboldening him further. "Let us take it outside," another voice called out. A rush of agreement followed, igniting the room once more. People lined up behind Maya, their spirits rekindled by conviction as they stepped outside. The cold air hit like a jolt. Sirens wailed in the distance, just beyond the street corner. Marcus could feel the weight of their collective breath as they matched their footsteps to the rising tide of shared hope. Cameras began to roll, capturing the moment as if it were a scene from a movie, one that many had dreamed of but few had ever truly believed could manifest. They were stepping into the light, uniting against whatever darkness awaited them. Maya turned to face the crowd, her voice ringing with authority. "This is our moment. We will share our truth. Let the world see us united." Cheers erupted around her. "Yes, show them." In that heart-pounding moment, Marcus felt his pulse quicken. The fire of purpose inside him blazed fiercely, burning away lingering doubts. But then, a sudden hush fell over the crowd as several squad cars pulled up. The blue lights flashed, stark against the darkening sky, slicing through their euphoric unity. The officer who had silently watched them now stood with his peers, their expressions mix-matched between concern and authority. Marcus's heart sank. They had prepared for this, hadn't they? But as he looked around, he saw not just fear in the eyes of his friends, but also uncertainty. Would they hold together in the face of hostility? Would the resilient spark ignited within them be snuffed out? Maya stepped forward again, fearless. "We are here for justice," she declared, her voice boomed through the night. The officers shifted. Tension throbbed. But just as the first officer raised his hands, was it a signal or a warning? Marcus heard an unexpected roar behind them. Another crowd emerged from the alleyway, determined faces and placards united. They had come to stand with them. Maya gasped, and Marcus's breath caught. Would this surge of reinforcements push them through the barrier, or would it escalate the confrontation? As emotions surged, he knew they were about to cross a pivotal threshold. How far were they willing to go for their truth? Would they stand tall or falter beneath pressure? The moment's tension nearly suffocated him. Would this be the moment everything changed, or merely the prelude to something darker? The blue lights continued to spin, illuminating the faces of the newcomers just as passionate and determined as Marcus and his crowd. He could hardly believe his eyes. The reinforcements were a breath of fresh air in this suffocating atmosphere. Waves of excitement rippled through him, clashing with lingering apprehension. Who were these new arrivals? Would they strengthen their voice or complicate the situation further? Maya blinked in surprise but quickly rallied, her resolve unshaken. Together, she shouted, arms outstretched to welcome them, her voice ringing like a bell in the night. "We must stand together, no step back." "Who are we?" "Together," echoed the crowd, their response bouncing off the walls, growing louder. Marcus squeezed through the throng to stand beside Maya. "What's your name?" he called out to a woman near the front, holding a sign reading "Justice is non-negotiable." Her hair shone like a halo in the flashing lights. "Rachel," she shouted back, her determination radiating from her. "Do you feel it?" Marcus urged, excitement cracking through his voice. "We're more than a crowd now. We're a movement." The energy was electric. Marcus felt elation dancing along his skin. Just as doubt began to creep in, Rachel raised her sign high, rallying the others to lift theirs in turn. The sight of dozens of placards raised proudly sent a shiver of hope surging through him. But the officers stepped closer, forming a tighter line, their presence overshadowing the joyful moment. Marcus looked into their eyes, searching for humanity or understanding. "Stay back," one officer barked, tightening his grip on the baton. Fear knit itself in Marcus's stomach. This wasn't the charged atmosphere of unity he had hoped for. It was a powder keg ready to ignite. "Let us not escalate this," Maya pleaded, hands raised peacefully. The roar of the crowd faltered, turning to hushed whispers. The officer's gaze met Maya's. A flicker of conflicted emotion passed between them. For a brief moment it felt like he understood. But then his face hardened, stealing against her gaze. "Back off." The officer's voice grew louder, filled with authority. The tension spiked, palpable, charging the air all around them. In that split second, Marcus felt a shift, a crack in the tension. "We're here for justice, too," he shouted, louder than he intended. "We're not violent. We just want to be heard. We want our voices to matter. Maya joined him, her voice rising. We want change. It's our right, our duty. The crowd erupted behind them, voices harmonizing in passionate cries. But the officers remained fixed, their stance unwavering. Was this all they were prepared to offer, intimidation instead of dialogue? Then, like thunder rumbling far away, a deep voice joined the chorus. We stand for justice. We stand for our community. A tall figure, a man with an unmistakable presence, stepped forward, amplified by the crowd's shouts. Who is that? Marcus wondered aloud, glancing over his shoulder. He is a respected local leader, Rachel replied, eyes wide. He is known for his support in social justice. As he waited to hear more, the leader raised his hands, signaling for silence. The crowd gradually hushed, every eye trained on him for what could be a turning point. Tonight, we are all connected and together, we are strong, he proclaimed. The weight of his words hung in the air, drawing out gasps and murmurs of agreement. But just then, a siren wailed louder and closer, cutting through the moment. The officer sprang into action, and chaos seemed ready to unfurl. Is that it? Marcus thought. Will they charge us? Will they quell our voices? The stage was set, but would they rise above the noise or be drowned out in the clash of power and protest? Marcus's heart thudded as he realized that their next steps would define everything. Would they stand firm, united, or would fear shatter their moment? The stakes were higher than ever as the looming confrontation approached. Would this night bring them justice or tear them apart? As the tension crackled in the air, Marcus stood strong, feeling the fear around him feed his resolve. He had come so far, and no amount of sirens or threats could silence the truth anymore. The man's voice echoed in his heart, reminding him they were not alone. Tonight, we stand united, the local leader shouted again, igniting fierce energy in the crowd. Marcus sensed the collective heartbeat of hope pulsing in rhythm with his own. The blue lights flashed ominously, but they wouldn't break their spirit. Beside him, Maya took a deep breath, determination etched in every line of her face. We know our rights. We will not retreat. Yes, Marcus chimed in, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon him. This isn't just about me, it's about every single person who has faced injustice. The crowd responded like thunder. Together, echoed, shaking the very ground beneath them. The officer in front flashed a look of defiance, but hesitated. For the first time, doubt crossed his features as he switched his gaze between Marcus and his peers. They were not backing down. They were ready for whatever came next. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the street corner. Windows rattled, making some gasp, but Marcus held firm. Everyone, stay close, he urged, heart racing. This wasn't just a moment of challenge. It was a chance to change their community forever. Then, from the chaos, a woman emerged, holding a megaphone high above her head. This is not how we resolve issues. We are here to speak, not fight. If the officers want to silence our voices, they will face the strength of our unity. The sirens grew louder, drawing closer. Marcus's pulse quickened, but he drew confidence from the wave of humanity surrounding him. If they stood tall together, they could reshape the narrative. Let us show them what our community looks like when it's united. He shouted into the night, raising his fist. Together, we are unstoppable. The crowd roared again, voices blending into a powerful chorus. The sun was setting, the lights dimming, but their spirits soared higher than ever. Men and women echoed Marcus's call, each word embedding strength that couldn't be silenced as shadows from the approaching squad cars merged with those of their gathering. A sense of urgency flooded Marcus's chest. We need to act now, he shouted. This is our moment to rise and reclaim our truth. People inched forward, their hearts beating as one. Overhead, the last of the sunlight gleamed against the officer's badge, a stark reminder of a battle yet to be fought. I want to go back to silence, Marcus roared, thrusting the USB drive into the air. We are coming for the truth, and we will be heard. With that declaration, the crowd surged forward, empowered with the knowledge of unity. The officers' lines wavered, whispers of fear and uncertainty swirling. They found strength from one another in an unstoppable wave. The collective hope transformed into action, a force that no badge could contain. Then, against this tidal wave of strength, something sparked. The leader beside Marcus raised his hands again, signaling them to calm. "We are peaceful," he called. "We come to lift each other, no weapons. Only words of justice and support." The officer hesitated, visibly wrestling with the scene unfolding before him. "Let us show them," Maya yelled. "Show them why we're not afraid." Just then, the crowd began chanting, voices rising in a powerful hymn of unity. "We want to be silenced. Justice for all." On the fringes, the additional crowds joined in. Cameras clicked and rolled as they gained momentum, flooding the scene with hope. Together, with their voices cascading through the air, they brought a flood of change, an avalanche of faces determined to press forward as the squad car parked nearer. The officer took a step back, uncertainty in his stance. In that fleeting moment, seeing humanity reflected in the crowd, he caught a glimpse of possibility. "People of Maple Grove, let us stand firm. Let us tell our stories together," Marcus called, light breaking through as the evening deepened. They had ignited. Something undeniably fierce courage was coursing through them, and with each heartbeat, they felt their power swell. The squad cars stood ready for confrontation, yet here, at the front lines, a decision hung in the air. Would they choose to engage in violence, or would they finally listen? The stage was set, the roar of voices thrummed like a drum of destiny, just waiting for its beat. Marcus stepped forward, every person gathered behind him shining bright with resolve. "This is our time," he called, every fiber of his being vibrating with exhilaration. "And we will not be ignored." And at that moment, something shifted. The officer lowered his hand. The tension hung suspended in the cool air sanctuary. Whatever the outcome would be, they felt the future shift with them. Justice glimmered on the horizon, the rebirth of Maple Grove was at hand. For a heartbeat more, silence enveloped them before awakening joy surged forward. Their transformation was beginning. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It really makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this epic ending. Let us keep the conversation alive because your voices matter. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Thank you for it.